Did Julius Caesar seek to betray the Roman Republic, or was his quest for power a necessary evil? This question has echoed through the corridors of history, resonating with the same intensity as it did over 2,000 years ago. Picture a young Julius Caesar, born into a politically influential family in Rome, an early life steeped in the complex power dynamics of the Roman Republic. Caesar's formative years were a crucible that forged an ambitious and charismatic leader. His rise to power was meteoric, marked by military successes that solidified his position as a force to be reckoned with. As a military general, Caesar was unparalleled. His victories in Gaul, Britain, and Germany expanded Rome's territories, earning him the adoration of the Roman people. His charisma combined with his military prowess made him immensely popular, a potent combination that was both his strength and his downfall. But with the power came controversy. As Caesar's influence grew, so did the whispers of betrayal. Was this man, who was loved by the people and feared by his enemies, planning to overthrow the Republic? Was he aiming to be a king, a concept so reviled by the Romans that it had been banished from their governance centuries ago? After his triumphant return from Gaul, Caesar became a dictator, a role previously temporary during times of crisis but made perpetual under his rule. This sent shockwaves through the Senate. Was this a necessary evil? A step taken to stabilize a republic fractured by political infighting and social unrest? Or was this the manifestation of Caesar's ambition, a calculated move to amass power and control? As we delve into Caesar's rule, let's question whether his actions were a product of his own ambition, or the product of a necessary conquest. Let's unravel the enigma that is Julius Caesar, a man who continues to fascinate us, his story a testament to the complex interplay of power, ambition, and the very nature of leadership. Julius Caesar, a name that echoes through the annals of history, began his conquest with Gaul. As we delve into the early stages of Caesar's military career, we're drawn to the Gaulish Wars, a pivotal phase that played a significant role in his rise to power. Caesar's conquest of Gaul, what we now know as modern-day France and Belgium, was a masterstroke of military strategy and political ambition. It was here that Caesar demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt to changing circumstances, and his knack for turning even the direst situations to his advantage. He was not just a man of words, but a man of action, a strategic genius who turned the tide of battles with his quick thinking and unyielding determination. Victory did not come easy though. The Gauls were fierce opponents, and the conquest was a long, drawn-out process that spanned nearly a decade. It was a period marked by bloody battles, ruthless sieges, and brutal subjugation. The Gauls were not merely defeated, they were crushed, their lands pillaged, their wealth seized, and their people enslaved. Caesar's campaigns in Gaul were not just about military conquest, they were also about wealth, a lot of it. The riches that flowed into Rome as a result of his victories were astronomical. Gold, silver, and other treasures poured into the city, filling the coffers of Rome and feeding Caesar's ever-growing ambitions. This wealth was used to fund his political career, to buy loyalty, and to finance further conquests. However, the brutality and ruthlessness of Caesar's campaigns raise questions. His actions were often harsh, even by the standards of his time. Entire tribes were wiped out, and the scale of the destruction was such that it has been described as genocidal. This was a darker side of Caesar, a side that often gets overlooked in the glare of his achievements. The conquest of Gaul set the stage for Caesar's rise to unprecedented power. It was a stepping stone, a means to an end. But it was also a stark reminder of the lengths to which Caesar was willing to go to achieve his goals. And as we'll see, this was just the beginning. In a bold move that would seal his fate, Caesar crossed the Rubicon, signaling the start of a civil war. This act was more than just a military maneuver, it was a statement, a declaration of defiance against the Senate and the existing power structure of Rome. The Rubicon, a small river in northern Italy, held immense symbolic significance. It marked the boundary between the province of Cisalpine Gaul, governed by Caesar, and the heartland of Rome. By law, no general was allowed to cross it with an army. Doing so was considered an act of treason. However, Caesar, in his relentless pursuit of power, defied this decree. With the words "Alea iacta est," or "the die is cast," he led his troops across the Rubicon, effectively declaring war on the Roman Senate and his political enemies. This act set into motion a series of events that would culminate in one of the most critical periods of Roman history. The civil war that ensued was brutal and bloody, tearing the Roman Republic apart. Caesar's forces clashed with those loyal to the Senate, led by Pompey the Great. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Caesar's strategic genius and the loyalty of his troops led him to victory after victory. In the aftermath of the war, with his enemies defeated and his power unchallenged, Caesar took control of Rome. He was declared dictator, a title that had been rarely used, and never with the absolute power that Caesar now wielded. This marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire, with Caesar at its helm. However, this power came at a cost. The crossing of the Rubicon had set Caesar on a path from which there was no return. He had made enemies of powerful men, and his actions would lead to consequences that would echo through the annals of history. With the crossing of the Rubicon, Caesar had sealed his fate and changed the course of Roman history forever. With the power of Rome in his hands, Caesar's rule was marked by reforms, but also by absolute power. Julius Caesar, now at the helm of the Roman Empire, embarked on a journey of radical transformation. His rule, while marked with absolute power, was also characterized by an array of reforms that shaped the course of Roman history. Caesar's reign as a dictator was not devoid of benevolence. He introduced a host of reforms aimed at improving the lives of the Roman populace. He restructured the Roman calendar, laying the foundation for the Julian calendar that we still use today. He passed laws to curb the rampant corruption, and he implemented social reforms to ease the burden on Rome's lower classes. His reforms were revolutionary, and they earned him popularity among the common people. Yet, Caesar's rule was not solely about reform. He was also a master at consolidating power. He filled the Senate with his loyalists, effectively neutralizing any opposition. He centralized authority, diminishing the power of the Roman aristocracy. This was a calculated shift from the Roman Republic's shared governance to a more autocratic rule. But as Caesar's power grew, so did the discontent among the Roman elite. They saw their influence waning and their traditional power structures crumbling under Caesar's rule. Caesar, in their view, was no longer just a leader, but a tyrant. His unprecedented authority and the drastic changes he brought about began to rattle the Roman aristocracy. The Senate, once a powerful body, was left feeling marginalized and powerless. This growing discontent among the elite would eventually lead to his downfall. In retrospect, Caesar's dictatorship was a paradox. On one hand, he was a reformist, a leader who championed the cause of the common people. On the other, he was a power-hungry ruler who did not shy away from subverting democratic norms to consolidate his rule. Caesar's rule, while marked by significant reforms, also heralded the end of the Roman Republic. Caesar's legacy, therefore, remains complex and multifaceted, a testament to his controversial rule. The Ides of March, a day that would go down in history as the day when Julius Caesar met his tragic end. On this day, the 15th of March, Julius Caesar, a man of great ambition and power, was betrayed by those he considered allies. A conspiracy was brewing in the heart of Rome, a plot to assassinate the dictator and restore the republic. It was a plan hatched by senators who feared Caesar's growing influence, and were determined to put an end to his reign. Among these conspirators were Brutus and Cassius, men who had once fought alongside Caesar. The irony of their betrayal was not lost on the dictator as he reportedly uttered the famous phrase, "Et tu, Brute," and "You, Brutus," with his dying breath. The assassination of Julius Caesar was a brutal event, with the dictator reportedly suffering 23 stab wounds. The conspirators believed they were saving Rome, restoring power to the Senate and the people. However, their actions left a power vacuum that would plunge Rome into chaos. In the immediate aftermath of Caesar's death, his adopted heir Octavian and ally Mark Antony rose to power. They fought against the conspirators, avenging Caesar's death and setting the stage for their own power struggle. This struggle would eventually lead to the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire, a bitter irony given the conspirators' intentions. The Ides of March became a symbol of betrayal and power struggles, a day when the fate of Rome was irrevocably altered. The assassination of Julius Caesar was not just the end of one man's life, but the end of an era in Roman history. Caesar's death marked the end of an era and the beginning of a power struggle that would shape Rome's future. So, was Julius Caesar a power-hungry tyrant, or a necessary figure in Rome's transition from republic to empire? This question continues to stir debate among historians, even after more than 2,000 years since his reign. On one hand, Caesar's critics argue that he was a power-hungry tyrant who manipulated Rome's political system to his advantage. They point to his consolidation of power, his elevation to dictator for life, and his suppression of political opponents as evidence of his ambition run amok. They argue that Caesar's actions were not driven by the needs of Rome, but by his own personal desire for power and glory. On the other hand, Caesar's defenders argue that he was a necessary figure in Rome's transition from republic to empire. They point to the corruption and inefficiency of the Roman Republic, and argue that Caesar's strong leadership was necessary to restore order and stability. They highlight his achievements such as the introduction of the Julian calendar, the expansion of Roman territory, and the implementation of social reforms, as evidence of his positive impact on Rome and its people. The truth, as is often the case, likely lies somewhere in between. Caesar was undoubtedly ambitious, and he did consolidate power in ways that fundamentally changed Rome's political landscape. However, he also implemented reforms and policies that benefited Rome and its people, and his leadership did bring a period of stability and growth. Ultimately, Caesar's legacy is a complex one. He is remembered as a great general, a transformative leader, and a skilled politician. But he is also remembered as a figure of controversy, a man whose ambition led him to seize power and change the course of Roman history. His rule marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire, a transition that would shape the course of Western history for centuries to come. Whether Julius Caesar was a betrayer or a conqueror, his impact on history is undeniable. Julius Caesar, a figure who continues to fascinate us even today, remains a controversial figure in the annals of history. His life was a series of audacious decisions and bold conquests, punctuated by moments of dramatic betrayal. We've journeyed through his rise to power, his crossing of the Rubicon, and his eventual dictatorship. We've looked at the Ides of March, the day that marked the end of his rule and his life. The question remains, was Caesar driven by ambition or necessity? Was he a traitor to the Roman Republic, or was he simply a leader seizing the opportunities presented to him? We've explored these questions, dissected his actions, and examined the consequences. Yet the controversy surrounding Julius Caesar's intentions endures, just as his legacy continues to influence our world. In the end, whether Julius Caesar was a betrayer or a conqueror is a question that perhaps only Caesar himself could truly answer.